This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC, on location, San Diego, URSA 2019. I have the pleasure of two new friends of mine, Ron Lamb, CEO of Daxko, and Jeff Van Dixhorn, who I've known episodically through the industry through Club Automation, which is now part of Daxko, which has investment from GI Partners and is making big waves in the industry with helping get all of the multi-unit operators, the YMCAs, the JCCs to move forward and make sure we can help more people's lives. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so Ron, why don't you talk first about your background, which is an interesting one, and always bringing seasoned executives into the Halo sectors, get to benefit everyone and more capital. So why don't you talk about where you came from and how you got here, and welcome to the space.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Thanks for having us on the show. My background is in retail automotive. Spent 26 years with a company called Reynolds and Reynolds. Mm-hmm. And we were focused on enabling dealerships to better engage consumers, to really drive a superior experience. And our goal was to transform that industry. How did we do that? Well, superior web technologies, mobile technologies, interactive, engaged tools in the dealership to help you pick the right car, to help you accessorize the right car. Some of the technologies, frankly, became pretty amazing. If somebody called the dealership, it would screen pop and tell you who they are, what's going on with their car before you said hello. So we would have consumers all the time going, this is freaky. When you would drive your car up to a dealership that had all of our advanced technologies, we used RFID technology to identify the car. So the person would walk out and say, hey, Pete, welcome. I see this is what you want to have on your car. And then the loaner would actually be sourced against being able to put you in a new car.
Nice.
And figure out the payments, and just a lot of really amazing technologies to make the consumer feel special and to give them that engaged experience where they'd actually want to go back to that particular dealership.
Amazing. So now you were there for over 25 years.
Yes.
So maybe just, before we get into the Halo sector and Daxko, talk about how you started this company and how it evolved, and you were president at the time. So it sounds like this is kind of your brainchild.
Yeah, no, I was one of many, many thousands of brains there, and I was probably on the low end of the spectrum, frankly. Had an amazing team I got to work with. I started out as a sales trainee, and like any kid out of college, I was newly married, up to debt to my eyeballs. I just needed a job.
Sure.
Got hired in, and the vice president of sales said, son, you're going to make a lousy salesperson. You should get your MBA. I was like, well, that's exciting. Thanks for the... And I took that as a personal challenge, and I dedicated myself to learning the profession of sales. Huh. So I simultaneously got my MBA at night, and then sold for about 11 years, and had a few good, lucky years, set some records, got some attention.
Nice. And
then moved to corporate. I had a real run in corporate and various marketing jobs, SBU leaders, things of that nature. Then the economic calamity of '08 occurred. And from a car dealership's perspective, it was really tough because 25% of our dealerships went out of business.
Wow.
And they weren't coming back. So we had to resize, retool, rethink about who we were. I began sharing a vision of how we should focus on the consumer. A lot of other like-minded folks, like my VP of marketing and some other champions, were like, hey, we need to pivot our whole organization. And literally out of the blue, the owner one day said, hey, I want to make you president. And I said, of what? And he said, Reynolds. I go, like Reynolds? He goes, yeah.
Wow.
I called my wife and I said, you're never going to believe what happened. And she said, did you get fired? I said, no. And I said, but I get a plane. She's like, what are you talking about? And I go, he wants to make me president. She goes, did you hear him right? I go, did you hear me right? I'm getting a plane,
Wow.
So
it's a good day to show up at the office, eh?
Yeah.
I'm not bad. Right?
Yeah, it was definitely a high water mark. And so my team, we just basically said, there's no limits. What are we going to do? What are we going to build? What are we going to acquire? What are we going to bring together? And
nice.
It's the amazing thing for me is I had a front row seat of watching this team do just phenomenal things and literally transform the experience, which gave our dealers a competitive advantage in the marketplace. So it's all about making that consumer, engaging that consumer, and providing a superior experience.
Yeah. So before, as you guys were building the software, and it sounds like you kind of thought of every different component of like, how do I make the experience better, but also how do I enable and empower each one of these car dealerships to know as much as they should know or more. How did that, it sounds like you started in the business, so you kind of like understood the customer better than anyone else. And then it sounds like you had a pretty amazing team that said, okay, here's all the frustration points.
Right.
And we're going to solve them, and we're going to get on the front end. So if someone wants to come in and try and do a bell and whistle software, like it's not going to happen. Like we own this customer because they own their customer, and they own their customer because we gave them the ability to do that. So how do you think about that experience and how that is giving you the ability to do what you're doing at Daxko?
Mm-hmm. So you have to have parallel paths, and what we did, Reynolds couldn't be all things to everybody, so we also had a very robust integration program, and we had a couple of hundred providers that we worked with, so it gave our dealers choices in how they enabled. So they had a plethora of websites and CRM tools and other engagement tools they could use. Now, we felt pretty prideful. We thought our stuff worked better, but we would still give them that choice to figure out what was best to run their dealership.
Gotcha.
And typical dealer would have 10 to 15 different providers to have that end-to-end
in their
spectrum.
tech stack.
In their tech stack
Wow.
from beginning to end. But it's a very complicated business, so
Sure.
that's not that surprising.
Okay. And then, so how did you get to? How did you get from Reynolds to Daxko? And then we're going to give Jeff the mic for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I've been a fitness kind of freak all my life. I grew up playing hockey. Had a chance to play a little bit in college, and
Nice.
And then kind of old man's leagues ever since. But I love going to the gym and love working out, and just it's very, very central to my life. And so seeing Daxko and where they are and where this industry is, I think most people, for as good a job as we do, with the experiences we provide, there is a dearth as far as technology and technology-enabled service within the industry. We're doing a lot of things manually. We're not taking advantage of artificial intelligence. We're not taking advantage of insight analyses, business intelligence. And frankly, a lot of consumer experiences are pretty clunky because they have to go from app to app or whatever to schedule things or communicate. So it's very nascent, and it's really where retail automotive was 10 years or so. So the other similarity that I love, and maybe the one that I love the most, is the entrepreneurs that I'm meeting that own these clubs, that drive these clubs. They're just fun people. They're passionate people about helping the world be a healthier and happier place. And let's face it, the data is pretty scary. In the United States, the last 3 years, the life expectancy has declined. That hasn't happened since World War I. So we have a fitness and health crisis in this country. And I believe all of us working together can really be part of the solution. And so I'm really excited to be a small part of the solution.
Yeah, just one aside. I was reading on my Apple News, just popped up. It said that restaurants are trying to become more friendly to people that are larger because of the obesity situation. I'm like, that's not the answer. Like, we're not making these booths bigger. Like, we got to solve the problem. We're not going to try to accommodate this. So I'm with you. That's kind of what we're doing on the Halo movement. So we're excited that we could do this together. And, the more, people that we bring in with your kind of skill set is we're going to get there quicker. So, Jeff, why don't you talk about, club automation and your background and, your history in the sector and how, our trio here is going to conquer the world and change society.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks for having us. My background really comes out of operations. So about 25 years ago, started at my initial club, multi-purpose club, built up that organization to 13 locations, and really, ultimately, like Ron said, and really the goal was to make a healthier and happier world, and committed to, providing that experience to our members, and that led to founding Club Automation. At the time we were trying to solve some problems in terms of not only operating our business, but connecting with members appropriately, building out the right tools to engage our members. And so that led us on a journey to solve the problem we had in our club organization. And I think like all great businesses are trying to solve a problem that someone has, and that leads to, wow, if we're having this problem, other people are trying to solve the same issue, right? So that naturally, really organically led on the front end, about 10 years ago, to having some early adopters that really believed in what we were doing. that continued to grow and snowball until, it really, we kind of started creating a movement. And then like all movements, it takes money
Sure.
to make that happen, right? And so we found ourselves a couple of years ago really wanting to accelerate what we were doing and serve the industry more effectively. And then that's really what led to then the acquisition by Daxko and GI Partners. And at the time, we were mostly competing with CSI Spectrum, kind of in that
sure.
multi-purpose club space. And it made a lot of sense to combine with that organization, which has been a leader in this industry, for 30, 40 years. So kind of building on that legacy is exciting. A lot of respect for that group, Jonathan and their family, the Rosses, for what they did there and just trying to continue in that path.
So when you got acquired by Daxko, did you run a process? Was there a embedded relationship there? How did that evolve? Just so people understand, sometimes you can run a auction process. Sometimes you can talk to people and say, hey, look, this is the best part. This is the best path to like creating value. And here's the support I need. I think a lot of the smaller players in this tech stack, which, Ron, as you mentioned, it was like 15, you could be like, it's like 100 different providers. And, some of these guys have like one or two, development people, and they might not be, in the US, and they might not, who knows what server they're on and who knows where the data is. And it's a little bit scary.
It's a lot scary.
It's a lot more scary than I think probably people really know. Yeah. So thank you for doing things correctly.
Well, it unfortunately in my old world, retail automotive dealers tend to be some of the prime targets. For data breaches? Well, both data hacking, but also the government to prove a point.
Oh,
and so I've gotten high profile, and I've gotten dragged into a number of cases, and it's a really, really ugly situation. We saw it with Target a few years ago, and the devastating effects that had. And at the end of the day, when you actually look at the forensics, Target was not in the wrong. It was a third-party company that got hacked, and then they backdoored through the network, through the firewall. So there's a lot of work we need to do in this industry quickly to secure things before we have a few poster childs of our own, because it's only a matter of time, and you can't see the bomb, but you can hear the fuse.
Yeah. When was the impetus and the year when you said, okay, look, we want to be part of a larger organization, or if it's time for us to kind of merge or join forces?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think initially it was like I said, it was a couple of years ago that we realized we have a huge opportunity here to serve this space more effectively, and started talking to our investment bankers about kind of raising funds. So initially, actually, our goal was to just go through an extensive fundraising that led to then connecting with GI and Daxko. And it really made the most sense for us as an organization. You really struck on a really important point. It really isn't just about the funding. It's about combining with an organization that has extensive expertise, and our ability to ramp that way was much faster. We're part of a group now where we're sharing experiences and I would say expertise across our product lines that exponentially accelerates our growth. The number of engineers we have that can work, again, across product lines and all those things. And I would say a big part of what was exciting for us is to have the expertise. And I think when Ron came in, this was something that our industry is not seen. And I think when we started with club automation, there was this sense that this industry is underserved. And then you have people like Ron who come in from industries that have gone through these transformations. To me, it's exciting to see, hey, what's the next level of where we can get to? And again, that's possible more so than just raising money. It's because now we're a part of a larger group.
So, for the entrepreneurs that are out there, and maybe companies that you're talking to, as you continue to look at opportunities to consolidate and make sure that the tech stack is under one umbrella. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that come in and say, like, I'm going to create a $100 million company. I'm going to create a $500 million company. I'm like, all right, why don't you get to 5 or 10 before you get that high? But I think at some point, a lot of companies need to say, okay, this is as far as I can take it. And if I stay alone, I might not ever sell my company and I might lose out. So how do you think about when you're talking to some of these targets, or you're thinking about like, hey, this is an interesting niche, maybe it's a Zen Planner acquisition or things that you're looking at without naming names, but saying like, look, guys, I know you want this X valuation for your company, but just trust me, like you're as far as it's going to take, and you're not going to go and raise $5 million. And if you raise $5 million from this guy and give away 50% of your company, and they need to make a 3x return, like you're not going to get there on your own. I want to like pour a little bit of cold water on the reality, because I want companies to merge, and I want the industry to benefit.
So what I found both in my old career as well as now is when you talk to those entrepreneurs, they have a dream. They have a vision of where they want to go. So then it becomes time and resources of how you get there. And part of what we try to do is lay out a clear path of, look, if you join forces with us, we can get you there faster, and it probably can be bigger than what you had hoped. Mm-hmm. And then, as far as structuring the deal, Pete, we create very aggressive earnouts and bonuses, mm-hmm. so that entrepreneur will yield a greater return as we realize that together. Mm-hmm. I think in the case of Club Automation, when you look at the CSI Spectrum customer base, very solid, very loyal, been mm-hmm. around decades. But the platform is what the platform is, mm-hmm. and it's built on technologies that we're not going to label as cutting edge.
Sure.
Whereas Club Automation, being a SaaS platform, it has a terrific amount of runway, mm-hmm. decades. So the beautiful story for those who are on CSI Spectrum is normally to make the change to the next gen technology, you got to go find a different partner, mm-hmm. and you don't know what you're going to get. And so, our message to those folks, and why this acquisition and this partnership made all the sense in the world, is we've gone to that customer base and said, look, at your leisure, it could be now, it could be next year, the year after, whatever it is, right. You now have a path.
Right.
You now have a
inside
logical
of your business. Yeah.
And whereas Club Automation, if they continued down their path, those all would have been conquests. Right, and we probably would have gone and figured out a different way to solve that problem and shut that door.
Right.
So now everybody wins. Yep. Everybody wins in the way this came together. So it's really figuring out those pieces, how 1 + 1 = 5 instead
mm-hmm.
of 1 + 1 = 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I would say that literally hits the nail on the head. And I think as an entrepreneur, there's obviously two pieces to this, right? Obviously, you start a business because you have a passion about solving a problem. And if you come back to the core, and to Ron's point, it really is 1 + 1 = 5. And we've experienced that. That's not to say that there's not challenges when you integrate and you go through that process, but ultimately, coming out of this a year later, we're realizing all of those benefits. And ultimately, who's going to realize that is the club operators. And even more importantly, ultimately, who realizes that is the member of the mm-hmm. club. And it comes back to what Ron talked about. Now you're really having impact on society. And again, as an entrepreneur, you have a dream, right? And that's the dream. I don't think, at least for me, the dream wasn't, we're going to build up this company and sell for X number of dollars. The dream started to solve problems,
sure.
to serve. Obviously, you do want to exit and make money. It's part of capitalism, but it's exciting to see that reality come true.
Yeah. As you look at, Ron, the landscape here, and you say, okay, look, there are all these technologies out there. There are all these bells and whistles. We got competitors that have capital. We got competitors that don't have capital. And we need to figure out, where our place is, and also make sure that the customers and our clients know that, like, look, we're a well-capitalized business, and you need to think about that. And you need to think about it hard. Like, you might want to say, okay, I want to pay X a month, for this, and like I'm going to try and haggle you guys on this and that, but they don't understand that I got PCI compliance, I got servers, I got SaaS, I got development team, without like scaring everybody, like give a little window, maybe both of you guys, into like what it takes to actually support a company of this size, and somebody who's bootstrapping out of some country that has got 2 development guys that they found off of SpareHire.com, like where this is going and what you need to be safeguard against.
Yeah. So when you're an entrepreneur and you're looking at that, there is something exciting about building it from the ground up and being your own boss every day. But there's also something miserable about that as well. And I think
we've all been there, right?
We've all been there. And commenting theoretical and then passing it over to Jeff. We have engineering and development and research and marketing and product planning teams,
Right.
where these people are very experienced professionals that do this a mile deep. So when you join our family, you no longer have to worry about human resources and payroll and negotiating those things and whether there's going to be money in the bank for payroll the next day. You no longer have to worry about technology. Everybody gets new laptops, and we've got a refresh program.
Right.
And then as far as you build your technologies, we've got proven platforms that we can take them on. We've got terrific hosting arrangements.
Yeah.
We have an entire PCI compliance team. We have a data team. We have data scientists. We have all those things. So as we've been, just since I've been here, we've been talking to a few entrepreneurs, and we're laying out the thesis of, look, now what you can do is you can focus 100% of your time, your energy, your passion on what it is that you wanted to do in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I interact with folks like Jeff or his peers, one of the things they say to me, frankly, once we get to dinner and have a couple of cocktails, they're like, I'm kind of miserable in a way.
Right.
And I'll
Sure.
say, Pete, what do you mean? Well, when I started this, ...
Right.
This is what I used to do. And that's really the offer that we have is we build and partner and acquire companies. I've just sent out a letter of intent a couple days ago. We haven't gotten it signed back, so we're not in a position to announce here at the show. It's going to be very exciting. However, that gentleman, as we talked about it, when I said, look, I want to take you back to what got you into this game in the first place.
Yeah.
And let us do all this other stuff because we're really good at it. And you can focus 100% of your passion on what you want to do. And he said, more than the money, that's what's important to me.
Sure.
Because I don't get to do what my passion anymore. I'm doing all this other stuff. Hey, all that other stuff is handled. We have a recruiting department. We have an onboarding department. We have a human resource department. All that stuff will be handled.
Right,
and you
right.
can go back to what you're passionate about. And that's one of the things that I think was a great secret sauce of my old company is we would acquire people. The entrepreneur would stay for years and years and years and years, and then we'd give them capital, and they'd go build even more things.
Yeah, cool.
So
That's
it's a
great.
really great partnership. And Jeff, I'd say that's kind of how it's been playing out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the only part you missed is the legal team that you have now in-house.
Oh, wow, that's helpful.
You're very helpful, right?
There was a guy. There's one of the guys that we work with. He's like, "Yeah, I had my in-house legal guy on the phone the other day." I'm like, "Bro, you don't even have an in-house legal guy." It was actually one of my account execs. I just said it. I just used his first name on the call.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So as you say that, it's interesting. We're doing we do these Halo Talks events, and the next one we're doing it's called entrepreneurial therapy, and we're having all the guys come in and be like, "Okay, look, you want to go out into the market and say like, yo, I'm crushing it. At the same time, like." You're bootstrapping this business, and you can't tell people in the market you're bootstrapping the business because you're not going to get any new business, and you're going to lose people. So we're trying to give people like, okay, you can say what you want to say, but in this room, it's kind of like AA for EA or something, right?
Much needed.
Yeah. So, what do you guys have here at the show? What should people know about Daxko? You've got obviously a great brand. Sounds like you got a great team and infrastructure. I'm glad we finally got the chance to talk here live. But what should people expect when they become a Daxko client?
Yeah, I think what's exciting about the show is you're going to see it at our booth, a number of our brands. So we're going to have the CSI brand, Spectrum, Club Automation, Zen Planner, which is services the boutique space, and then AAC. And I think that's one of the ones that is really exciting. So Affiliate Acceptance Corporation, which has been a leader in that space for a long time, is now part of our team, and it's an offering that we can add on to our software products. You're also going to see Group X Pro, one of our recent acquisitions.
What does that do?
So Group X Pro manages group exercise programs. They're used by hundreds and hundreds of facilities across the country, managing the scheduling of the Group X classes, also, which is probably one of the biggest struggles at an athletic club is managing the staffing, subbing, certifications, and all that. So again, to Ron's point, another great product that we can come alongside the products we have.
Does the Group X Pro do contribution margin per class or per hour? Or can you guys do that, please? Because I got a lot of clients that need that.
Yeah, they do some of that.
Okay,
Yeah, they do some of that. It's probably more focused on
the admin and the payroll, and
well,
which is a big issue, obviously.
everything works well when it works according to plan.
Right.
Right. But when you get into our world, nothing works according to plan.
Right.
So when you get into these comprehensive clubs that have lots of group exercise programs, people get sick.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
They're on vacation.
Yeah.
Things come up. And so now you don't just have to worry about substituting the staff. You've got to go tell the 30 or 40 people who are coming into that class, hey,
Right.
we're not going to have Jeff. We're going to have Pete. Well, maybe some people don't like Pete. Maybe people love
Yeah.
Pete.
Probably love Pete.
And
Yeah, I don't know why we got to use me as an example here, but thanks, Ron. No, I didn't.
all right, they love Pete. They don't like Jeff. But you got to update that real time.
Yeah, of course,
and doing
of course,
that manually
Huh.
takes like a full-time person in the club, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
so
they
this
send it out,
automates
and they
that.
send it out 15 minutes before, which I've already committed to come. Right, I'm on my way there.
Yeah.
Now I'm just angry.
Correct.
That I got this person who used to work the front desk is now supposedly like the Soul Cycle instructor for the day.
The other two themes I think if people visit our booth they're going to find out is a real emphasis on connecting data, connecting with partners. We are investing, frankly, many millions in a very robust API program to connect with many other software providers to enable a better experience. So that's another huge theme. And then artificial intelligence and business process outsourcing. So right now our clubs, especially those in major metro areas, hiring a billing clerk, hiring somebody on the phone, hiring somebody to follow up on CRM, things of that nature, it's really expensive and difficult to find and keep those people.
Yeah.
So we're bringing both outsourcing capabilities as well as artificial intelligence. I just got stopped by a club manager. This is actually a pretty funny story. They enabled our artificial intelligence tool, and they had a campaign of people. They had 5,000 people who had credit on their gift cards, right? So I've got a tennis lesson, I've got a spa appointment, I've got a whatever it is, and they bundled this up, and they turned it over to our artificial intelligence tool, and they thought, it'd be nice if we got like 50 people. 75% of the people contacted now, so they were flooded with 3,500 people saying, "Yeah, I'll come in for my tennis lesson or spa appointment."
Wow, so they're burning down those sessions.
He just was like,
That's
this
huge.
this thing's unbelievable, and it costs peanuts to do that. Versus if you had to hire somebody to call and email 5,000 people, it would cost you a boatload of money, and it would take 3 months. We were able to do this instantaneously and just blow them away with the results.
Yeah, some of the things you're talking about here and the technology that you all built and that's operational and working in the sectors, I don't think people fully appreciate that when you're running a Group X class and you got like 10 classes or 20 classes per day, you're basically running an airline.
Yeah,
okay, and
that's
every
exactly right.
hour that plane leaves the gate.
Yep.
There's people on there. There's pilots that have to be changed. There's stewardesses. The place got to be cleaned, and I got to know every hour. Okay, what did I make on that plane? Like if you're the CEO of JetBlue, like, and you can't tell me how much you made on the flight from New York to San Diego, like, you shouldn't be the CEO anymore, right?
Yep.
So I think embracing the technology, understanding that it's coming from a place where you guys actually understand the industry. You started out as like, what's your frustration and how do I solve it? That's what a company is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if it's like a bell and whistle, then it should be a product of a company that isn't necessarily a company.
Yeah.
You know,
Let me jump in because I want to add what Pete said. The other thing about that Group X situation, everybody knows things come up, but we want to, as consumers, to be informed.
Right.
And the manual effort to try to inform people, it's impossible. And so people come to the Group X and they're like, wait a minute, I thought Pete was going to be here. That's what my thing says. Well, Pete got sick and we got Jeff.
Right.
Guess what happens? Now I'm in defection.
Sure,
And the holy grail of this entire industry is member retention.
Yep.
So in my view, yes, the Group X, it does have a great return as far as the software, but what I think is the larger return that's hidden is the impact on member retention.
Sure.
And that's the more powerful force.
Yeah, and the other part of it is, there are certain things that other companies are doing in other experiences that I have that are so good at doing it that I expect you as a club operator.
Yeah.
I don't care if you own one club. Like, I'm not giving you you don't get a pass because I know you have one club. When I got Soul Cycle, allowing me to do what I want to do in New York. When I got Seamless Web doing this, when I got JetBlue doing this on the mobile app, I expect you to do it also. Because why are you different? You're providing me a service. Why should I give you a break because you're a mom and pop operator? It's not my problem, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah. No, and I think what's interesting, Pete, and what we've found is we want to give people options, right? So Ron's talked about, we've talked about some of the acquisitions and add-on products. Our philosophy really is ultimately how do we best serve the club, and then how do they best serve their members? So we've taken the philosophy that we are going to continue to build out our product side as robust as possible, but then be giving people options, whether it be through the API framework that we're building out to connect to other platforms. So, and again, it really then just comes back to, for us, is trying to serve our customers who are serving their members, which kind of pulls back into our mission. And we're not doing it through one pathway, not just through APIs or not just through product. We really want to provide the operators some options.
That's great.
So, which is very unique.
So it's been great to meet you guys in person. It's a pleasure. I'm sure we'll do a lot of things together. We'll hopefully have you guys using the HALO as the acronym for the industry when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Tell your GI guys that we'd love to have them have that as a category, and we'll send you guys with plenty of acquisition opportunities. So if you are a club owner or a fitness studio and you want to sleep at night and you want to build your business successfully, talk to the guys that know what they're doing. So, Ron, thanks for coming on. Jeff, it's been a pleasure, and future success for everything you guys are doing.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Awesome.